The McShin Foundation is Virginia's leading peer-to-peer recovery community organization. So if you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, let us get you connected. Build your self-esteem and lead you to a solid foundation in your recovery. Check us out.
Privileged to be here with this vanguard. I was given some thought to what I might want to talk about tonight. And I can talk to you a little bit about the treatment industry and how our folks in the treatment community need to do a better job in addressing trauma and grief and embracing evidence-based practices to improve outcomes. I could also talk to you about the healthcare system and hospitals and how every emergency department in this country should have a standing protocol for withdrawal stabilization, detox induction, and warm handoffs to recovery coaches or RCOs. I can talk to you about the need for us to continue to recover out loud, as Greg talked about. Can also talk to you about the insurance industry, and that could be a very long conversation, as you know. But I mean, it just, to me, I've always been baffled by the insurance industry here. It's like you buy this product, and when you're buying it, you really kind of hope you never need to use it, right? Because that means something's the matter. So you buy it, and then the day comes where you need it or you have to use it, and then you got to fight with the people that you gave the money to in order to be able to use what you bought. It's like, does that make sense? And then, if you're lucky, they'll let you use a little bit of it. I'm like, wait a minute, I paid for this. And I need to use it now. And then if they let you use it, you get penalized, and now you have to pay more for it. Something's wrong with that picture. Something seriously wrong with that picture. So I still think that we need to wrest the authorization process away from insurance company bureaucrats and put it in the hands of our addiction treatment professionals, clinicians on the ground in real time with their finger on the pulse, literally, of what that client needs with respect to level of care and duration of treatment. Not insurance companies. We're moving the ball down the field. Here in New York now, you can go to treatment for 14 days before the insurance company can do anything about it. So we made some progress, but there's a whole lot of work to do. I can also encourage you to continue to celebrate our smashing victories over active addiction. We need to continue to be that face and voice out there. We also need to continue to educate people and remember that our recovery may be the only education that the next person sees. So it's important that as we recover out loud, we recover with integrity and we leave ego at the door. Really important. So I could talk to you about all of that stuff, but I won't. What I wanted to bring attention to tonight is a population that's often overlooked, discounted, and forgotten about. And that group of people are the children of addiction. We never talk about the children of addiction. I was the child of addiction. You might find that hard to believe because it was 110 years ago. But I was the child of addiction. And statistically, if you're somebody who's in recovery, there's a good chance you were too. Every day, every hour, thousands of babies are born into homes with addicted parents, every day. There's more than 20 million children living in homes with addicted parents today. And the reason why I want to talk a little bit about that is because for me, probably the single greatest contributing factor to my own addiction was the fact that I was a product of an addictive home, with violence and trauma and chaos and shame and embarrassment. No wonder alcohol tasted so good. No wonder I was a full-blown alcoholic at the age of 15. Later on, to do other drugs. More specifically, I had a father wound. Anybody here have a father wound? It was a wound that was passed on from generation to generation, not intentionally. But that wound prevented me from fully embracing recovery when I finally found it. I had a tumultuous relationship with my father. He was a violent, abusive alcoholic, brilliant man. And what happened for me was, in my recovery, I wanted to heal the relationship with him because I was stuck and I couldn't get anywhere. At about 4 months in recovery, I was stuck, I was angry, I was frustrated, I couldn't make any more progress. Didn't want to deal with the steps, and I started this journey with some therapists and some inpatient programs to address this father wound, which was clearly the obstacle I needed to navigate. So for me, what happened was, it was hot and heavy for a long time. As I finally started to get into this, my father was now dying of lung cancer. So here I am with this dilemma. I have all of this anger and frustration and grief, and I need to express it, and I need to let him know. And at the same time, he's dying, and I can't do this to him. And it was really an arduous process, but I did it anyway with some encouragement. And then one night, after we did a lot of back and forth and crying and screaming and yelling, I went home and I sat down, and I was feeling so bottled up with different kinds of emotions and not really knowing what to do. So as I sat there, I had just resuscitated my father 2 days earlier with mouth-to-mouth. They took him away in the ambulance. Not knowing what to do next, a voice said to me, "Write a poem." And I said, "A poem?" So I did. And 15 minutes later, this is what I wrote. There was a man, he was my dad. Behind his rage, he was so sad. His hurt and pain for many years is hiding out inside his tears. My dad was smart, but couldn't see the bleeding wounds inside of me. The times I thought he was my friend turned out to hurt me once again. Alcohol was his relief, but only brought him much more grief. As years went by, his brilliant brain was being washed right down the drain. In 1990, God appeared. This was the God that I once feared. He gave to me my only dad. That little boy, he was so glad. He jumped for joy and beamed with light. There was a God awake at night. Dad and I were friends, you see. For years it wasn't meant to be. Then this disease, it found a crack and swiftly took my father back. From this day on, I do not know which way God wants my dad to go. I only know that for a while, I had a dad that made me smile. Tonight, I said, "I love you, Dad," something that I never had. I felt great love from in my heart, healing years we'd been apart. All my years of built-up rage, I worked out of my hardened cage. My anger left and tears appeared, all the tears that I had reared. And God, He chose to set me free, to find out who I need to be. And now that God is calling Dad, I know it will not be so bad. For now I know when God does call, it's really not the end at all. Dad didn't mean any harm to me. He knew no other way to be. So please God, when he's in your arms, forgive my dad for all his harms. For I have done that too, you see. And you have done the same for me. And God, when you call other dads, please cushion them with gentle pads. And when you call me to your place, I'll see the smile on my dad's face. And Dad, the day that our fates match, maybe then we'll have that catch. So God, please don't just watch and sit. Come play with us and bring your mitt. Thank you.